Good morning, and welcome to another half-assed version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your half-witted and half-hearted host, Voice of Doom. Hello. Got a glass of sherry. Classing it up a bit. Alright, I haven't been around for a few days, and I figured my fan is missing me, so I'll do another diatribe. Just talking about a few things that have been going on lately in the world, and I think I got the computer to kind of be functioning. It's not the same as my Chromebook, but at least the volume should be good. So, I wanted to discuss a few things. Alright, microcosm. Max and his buddy are contemplating going to Phoenix to go into rehab for a year-long program, which will be paid for by the church. And I'm all for it if that's what's going to get him on track. I'd prefer for him to actually just get his act together and stay here and help me out, but whatever it takes to get him from being a homeless bum. But I'm very used to the fact that I have let him loose into the streets, and he seems to be functioning out there, so I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. And my other kid, Benjamin, is more than halfway through his basic training, and he seems to be adapting well, and he seems to be assuming his rightful place as a leader and someone who can take the initiative, more mature than the rest of the gang there that in his platoon. And so that's going reasonably well, and he's sending me money, and I'm very happy about that. And I'm, doing my usual, which I have my own crosses to bear and my own bad habits. And the more I think about it, the more I think I'm going to have to just be bored at home and not try to make extra money here and there, because I'm getting music gigs here and there and extra money from these projects, and I should just be happy with that. So I'm going to try to get my act together, because I can't expect my kid to toe the line when I myself am a derelict and a degenerate, and I admit it. At least I know I am. And I still try to function in society. But aside from that, the reason I bring up the microcosm is because it is a reflection of the macrocosm. I'll explain why. Now, Petri Dish, our beloved commander-in-chief, had two sons. One was the good son, and one was the bad son. I think you can guess which one is which. And they've probably had family dynamics going back to the time they were born, and having a father who's basically insane, and a megalomaniac thinking that he's all that because he's in the government and he's a senator and a vice president and all this other crap, and he's totally corrupted his offices in order to enrich himself. Now that's obvious. It's all coming out. Now, I'm going to explain how things are going to pan out here, both in the international and the national milieu. Now, this Hunter character has always been the bad son. It's obvious. He's had drug problems. He's had woman problems. He's been a degenerate. He's been a rogue. And he likes to have it all put onto his laptop. All of his escapades. He likes to have them documented very carefully on his laptop. Now, the other son was in the service and was very upright and had integrity. I don't know them personally. I just know what I feel intuitively. And this son died of cancer. Contrary to Petri Dish's recollection that he died in Iraq, or may have died in almost any conflict that serves Petri Dish's purpose. If the situation is Afghanistan, then his son died in Afghanistan. If the situation is Somalia, his son died in Somalia. No, his son died of cancer. And it was tragic. And I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the skeletons in their closet, but apparently the other son decided to take up with the widow of the good son. Now, I've had family dynamics where weird things happen, and you put up with it, and you might even be okay with it, and you might be friendly with people. I've been friendly with relatives who I know are bad people, but you just have to kind of be friendly because that's how family is. You can't confront them about what everybody knows because it's a very uncomfortable thing. Child molesters, what have you. So, Hunter, the bad son, has always resented both Petri Dish, his father, I think. They look alike, so I'll assume, and his brother, who passed away, who was a martyr. And he has always probably been at odds with the whole family. You can say, oh, he took up crack because he was upset about his brother. Well, I've had people die on me. I've had my wife die, and I've had my father die. And other than just continuing on in my derelict ways that I've always done, I didn't take up any hard drugs because I was upset. But apparently, Hunter had to do that. Now, he's probably been jealous. Now, let me tell you a little story that was written by Arthur Conan Doyle in the Sherlock Holmes short story called The Priory School. Now, in this story, there was a rich man whose son was kidnapped out of the Priory School. The son was about 10. And he was a good son, and he didn't know who was kidnapping him. No ransom was asked for. The kid was just gone. Now, this rich man had an assistant who took care of his needs and was his confidant and secretary. And I'm going to give you the ending. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert in case you plan on reading this story, which I would suggest you do. Sherlock Holmes finally ascertained that this secretary assistant was actually the illegitimate son of this rich guy, and this rich guy was very averse to public scrutiny because he knew he had this son that he knew was his son, and the son knew he was his son. But what happened was the son held it over this rich guy, and he kind of controlled him. And in the end, it got to the point where the rich guy said, I can't go on like this. I can't be blackmailed and emotionally blackmailed by this illegitimate son. So things are going to change. And so the secretary, illegitimate bastard, kidnapped the legitimate son of the rich guy to exact revenge. And in the end, he died, and the kid was rescued and that was that. But this is the same scenario I'm talking about. Hunter controls Petri dish, okay? I'm going to be the first one to say it. And when everybody else comes up with that idea later on and history bears me out, they will look at my diatribes and they will say, this guy was a genius. Why didn't we listen to him? But Hunter controls Petri dish. It's obvious. You do not, I don't care how crack-addled you are, you do not leave a laptop jam-packed full of damning information at a repair shop and just forget to pick it up. You're going to have certain days where you're actually sober and you're going to go, I better go pick up that computer because it's got all kinds of crap on it that if it gets out, then all hell will break loose. But no, he did leave the computer and he wanted to leave the computer, whether consciously or subconsciously. He was going to hold sway over Petri dish, his father, and he was going to have a lot of cannon fodder to hold Petri dish to the fire and say, you're going to do how I want things to be done, because if you don't, I'm going to just let everything out. Now, he did let everything out, but fortunately for Petri dish, we have an apparatus in this country called the Media Democratic Justice System Complex, which are all working together to protect Petri. But they don't want to protect him much longer because they realize that Petri can't beat any gopper that goes against him. So they must get a clean-cut California boy or even an old guard Kennedy to be the standard bearer for the D's. So they're going to throw Petri under the bus. And Hunter the son is chortling because he's gotten everything he wanted. He has lots of money. He's made money here, there, and everywhere. And when he gets caught for tax evasion, he pays a few $100s and says, I'm sorry, and goes to some sort of halfway house, or I don't know what. You go to a few meetings and, for your problems. Now the media is all saying, oh, all these things that he wrote in his computer, all these emails, he was a drug-addled, derelict, and how dare you? You have no compassion for drug addicts. He was drug-addled and out of his mind, and so everything he said was wrong. Well, we all know it wasn't wrong. We all know the whole Petri dish clan are a syndicate of criminal behavior. And I talk so much about this, I couldn't talk about this other thing, so I'll just say this real quick because I wanted to touch on this Russia business. Now, this Wagner group, which is kind of a Nazi SS offshoot mercenary fighting force that are doing all the dirty work for Putin, Vlad the Mad, started a insurrection within Russia and started heading up to Moscow, and Vlad fled. So he didn't look very good doing that, but in the end, this mercenary group came to an agreement with Vlad the Mad, and they were shuttled off to Belarus, along with a bunch of nuclear arms and atomic bombs for later use. Now, here's what is actually happening. And it's not all my original thoughts, I'm just gleaning it. This Wagner group, which is a neo-Nazi organization within Russia, they don't want a Vietnam. They don't want to just slowly get picked off one by one in a half-assed war. They want to just take what parts of Ukraine they want to take and be done with it. They probably wanted to do it over a year ago. And Vlad the Mad, who's not as mad as, people may think, is thinking, I want to take parts of Ukraine, but I don't want to do it in such a heavy-handed way that it starts a big ruckus with these NATOs and these Schwabs and these Soderheims or whatever the hell his name is. And all these other people. So he wanted to just do it kind of low-key by just bombing a few cities and bombing a few towns and killing a bunch of people and saying, okay. But see, the Ukrainians were fighting back because what used to be the United States is sending them lots of money and armaments to keep the fight going. So it's all worked out very badly for Vlad, but now he's got a cadre of the people who are doing the actual fighting saying, we don't want to fight like it's Afghanistan. We don't want to fight like it's Vietnam or Somalia or Angola. We want to fight like, let's get it over with and done. So my bottom line is, let's see what happens over the next few weeks, because Vlad had to accommodate those Wagnerians. And if you understand who Wagner was, Richard Wagner was a great composer. He was also a Nazi. He was an anti-Semite, and he represents the cultural hatred that some cultures hate for another. He is a standard bearer. And he wasn't as bad as all that, but he was bad, and he was inspiration to Schicklgruber and other people. And he's probably inspiration to Zelensky and this Polanski or whatever the hell his name is with the Wagner group. So bottom line is Vlad the Mad's going to have to accelerate things. If he wants to, put this Ukraine business to bed, he's going to have to do something really drastic. And that's going to make NATO have to respond in some way. And we'll probably all be incinerated, at least the big cities in what used to be America. And I'm going to hunker down and debate whether to pay my mortgage this month, because I don't know if that's going to be even worthwhile to do, because everything's going to fall apart. The conflagration's coming. Nothing's changed. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. So that's it. I'll just leave it there. I didn't say much, but I think I said enough for you to think about. Think about the family dynamics in this little clan that they call the Petrie Crime Syndicate. And just think about how things are going. It's pretty obvious that the son wants to sabotage the father and also have the puppet strings in his hand. So Hunter is running what used to be the United States. Let's just leave it at that. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's getting too long already, and I think I've said enough. So, l'chaim. To life.